Hey, we're going to make some tabs, and to start out, we're going to take a look at the Axure tutorial that's provided on the Axure.com website. So let's take a look at how you can find that. Just go to Axure.com, and up here in the top right, you can search for tab control or tab tutorial, and you should be able to find this page. And it gives you the step-by-step instructions on how to build tabs, and it also provides an RP file right here, the Axure Training RP file, which you should download if you want to follow along with exactly what I'm doing here. So let's go into that file and take a look at their tutorial file that they provide. If you just expand our sitemap a little bit here. When you open up the RP file, you want to go down to the folder for finished pages, and then look for the tab control page. This is tab control finished, and it should look like this. So let's just preview this in our browser real quick and see how it looks. It's fairly simple. It's just two tabs, and you click on a tab here and it shows this content. You click the other tab, it shows this content. A minor thing that you might want to make note of here is that that the tab content is the same height on both tabs. You don't need to do it that way. That just happens to be how they set this one up. So let's close out of that, go back into Axure, and take a look at how this file is set up. And I remember I thought tabs were way more complicated than they actually are until I started building them a lot. And once you get into the hang of it, it's really easy. And it can seem like there are a lot of little moving parts, but you'll see that it's quite easy. Especially this one is set up has basically two parts. It has the tabs here, which I'll just pull off, and it has the content. The content is a dynamic panel. It says right here, and it has two states. If you look over here, it has state 1. It says welcome back. It has state 2, thanks for joining. And then these buttons are nothing but shapes that have, if we scroll down here, we can see that they have a selected state set, so that when you click on one, it changes color. So right now they're sort of a medium gray, and when you click on it, it becomes selected, and it becomes a light gray. And that light gray happens to be the exact same color as the content panel background color. So it blends in. So if we leave everything separated like this and preview the page, we kind of get a better view into the inner workings. It is very simple how this is set up. And so right now, this is the selected tab, this is the not selected tab. So when I click this one becomes selected and it changes the content. When I click this one becomes selected and it changes the content. That's all it's doing. It's very simple. So now if I come in here, I'll just kind of reassemble it. And preview that again. It'll all make much more sense when you see it all together, put back together again. My computer goes kind of slow when I'm using QuickTime. So there you have it. So now it looks much more like tabs. But this is really limited in the way it's set up. I'm going to show you a way, another approach that's kind of similar but gives you a lot more flexibility. One thing about the way this file is set up that you should also notice that's not so great is that this dynamic panel here, it doesn't have a name. So when we do ours, we're going to name our dynamic panel, and that's just a generally good practice. And then we also want to have we want to name our states. We don't really just want to call them state 1, state 2, and then we're going to set up our tabs in a different way. So let's just go in and take a look at this page here that I've already started. And you can see sort of how things are going to look when we build everything out. But let's just take a quick look at how we're building these tabs. I can take them and drag them off a little bit here, and you can kind of see how things are structured. But all we did was take a shape and I'm going to just go into the Style tab here, and I can give it a corner radius. Make it 5. And this is not a design lesson. This is just a demonstration of kind of some things that you could do. And I'm going to turn off the bottom, so now it's looks more like a tab, right? You don't have the corner radius on the bottom, and then we're further going to come in here on the border, and we're going to turn off the border on the bottom. So these are new features, I believe, new in Axure 8, and they are really great for doing this kind of thing. So now we have a tab. We can type into it. And we can change this to something bigger. So now we have what looks like a tab. Again, if this, if you wanted to spend time on a detailed design, you could, or you could just do a really bare bones, simple style wireframe. Using this same technique. So I guess what I'll do is I'll just delete this one, and I'll put the corner radius on this one. So now we have three similar tabs. There's 3 of the same type tabs. So let's line them up on our box. And again, I'm not spending any time fiddling with this, but Axure is really great about doing things like evening out spaces and things like that, so it's really great. So now the interesting thing is this doesn't look like tabs, right? And we have this box. If I nudge it down 2 pixels, you can see there's a gap. Let's zoom in really close. So these are just right above the box. Now if I take the bottom box, the content, and I nudge it up 2 pixels back where it was, it's now right touching the bottom of these tabs. But if I nudge it up one more time, now it's overlapping. However, we can use sort of layering or kind of a z-index kind of thing. If we use bring to front and send to back, and I use the key command for that, which is Command Shift right bracket for bring to front, and Command Shift left bracket for send to back, and that's on a Mac. So for example, if I take this one and bring it to the front, it looks like the open tab, and send this one to the back, because we don't want to have two open tabs. So now this one looks like the open tab. These look like they're closed tabs. And I can do the same thing. I can take the center one, bring it to the front, take this one, send it to the back. So now what I have is the ability to easily show which one is the current tab or the open tab. So let's bring this one to the front, send this one to the back. Now what we're going to do is sort of go into assembly line mode, and we're going to duplicate this 3 times because we need one for each tab, and then we're going to add sort of like links to each tab on all the tabs, and then we're going to change the content on each tab. So let's go through and do all those steps really quick. So first thing we want to do is select it all, and then I'm just going to right click on it anywhere and say convert to dynamic panel. Now it's a dynamic panel, and it's still selected, and I'm going to go in and just call it tabs. Normally, again, I can't overemphasize, but in a large project you'd want to name everything very carefully. So this one might be called something like product tabs or something like that. But here we go. We have one state right now. We're going to duplicate that, one for each tab. So now what we have is a dynamic panel with 3 states that are exactly the same. We want to also name these something nice, so we'll just call this one tab 1, tab 2. This is my preferred way to do it. You could call it specifications, ratings and reviews, accessories, which that may turn out to be a better way to do it. But then again, if the content changes in your project, then you've got things named a certain way that won't make any sense to anyone else later on. So I like to keep things generic if possible. So now let's go in and we're going to open up the first state of this dynamic panel. There are 2 ways you can do that. You could just double click on this and then double click on this, and now it has opened the first state of the tabs dynamic panel. So you can see this one's bold, and you can see we're in the tabs dynamic panel and we're in tab 1 state. And if you're not that familiar with dynamic panels and states, it's really not that complicated, but one of the strange things that you might need to get used to is that when you go into the state, everything is at the 0 coordinates. All right, so it's kind of its own little world, and everything is at 0, 0. So let's close that, and I'll show you the other way to open it. So the first way was we double clicked on the dynamic panel, or you can just double click on it right here. And so there we are. That's probably the easiest way to do it. So there we are. And what we're going to do now is we're going to put properties on click events onto these tabs. So I'm going to select this tab, double click on click over here, and we're going to set panel state right here. And there's our dynamic panel, which is called tabs. We're going to select it, and then once we select it, its states become available here in this drop-down menu. And there's some other ones in here which we didn't create, but we don't need those right now, so we can just ignore those. But these are the ones that we created, 1, 2, and 3. So this one, we move it, we're on tab 1, so we'll leave it on tab 1. Now we're going to go here, do the same thing, on click, set panel state right here. Set panel state is one of the most frequently used ones. And we select it, and then we go to tab 2, and then double click on click there, and we'll get the case editor. We select set panel state, set tabs. This is strange because it says set tabs because you're setting the panel state. Set tabs to this state. So I'm going to put 3. And so now what we have is, you can see the blue numbering on here, but that means that it has interactions applied to these shapes. And so when we click on this one, it's going to go to tab 2 state. We click on, or tab 1 state, and we click on this one, it's going to go to tab 2, and we click on this one, it's going to go to tab 3. And let me show you a little bit quicker way to do that. So I'm going to go in here and delete these. So the way I would do it if I were actually doing this is, first I would just select this, and I would set the panel state for tabs to tab 1. And then I would just copy that and paste it on both of these. So now I have the same thing on all of them. And then I can just come in here and pick a different state. That's actually one of the great things about working in this approach, I think, and also just in general with working with dynamic panel states. So now we have, again, the same as we had before, which is we have one state that has these basically like links on the tabs. But we need that on these other two. So what we're going to do actually is we're going to take all of this and copy it to these others. So now we are not there. My computer's very slow right now. So now we're on tab 2. I'm going to select all, delete, paste, close it, go to tab 3, and you can just double check. It says tab 3 right here. Select all, delete, paste. So now what we have is the 3 tabs, and now all of our tabs are linked up correctly. But now all we have to do is go through, like again, this is like an assembly line. We're just going to close that. So we're going to go through each one. We're going to go into tab 2, change the tab, change the content. Go into tab 3, change the tab, change the content. So I'm just going to do the mass open all at once button. I like to use that. It's easy. So there we go. This one is done. We don't need to touch it. I'm going to close it. So now we're on tab 3. So these things don't always open in the correct order, but that's okay. We're in tab 3, so we're going to take this one, bring it to the front, take this one, send it to the back. So our tabs look correct. We're going to change this text to say accessories. And close it. We're done with that one. And now we're on tab 2. Make sure you check up here. And we're going to take this one, send it to the back, take this one, bring it to the front. So we got our tabs appearing correctly. And then we're just going to change this to ratings and reviews. And we should be done. Now if I close this, there's our dynamic panel. We can move it around. That's another nice thing about this approach is it's all one contained thing. I'm going to preview this in the browser, and it should work at this point. Taking a while. And now if I click on this, you can see my tabs. I can go from tab to tab, and it's changing which tab I'm on, and it's changing the content. So now that this is set up, once you get the initial structure set up, it's very easy to go through and let's say I want tab 1. I'm going to go in and increase the content here. And now let's just take a quick look and see what it looks like. I think you'll see that once you get the initial structure set up, you can figure out all the things you can do. So let's go in here again, and let's also go in and let's open up all of these again. Again, the only kind of downside to this approach is that you have to be a little bit organized if you're going to go in and do mass production. So for example, if I were going to if I wanted to have a mouse over state on these buttons, so let's say I wanted to make the fill color blue, and I wanted to make the font color white, and then so now I've done that here, but now if I wanted to do that on all the tabs, I will have to do that to each one. Just not that hard to do, but let me just demonstrate what it looks like. You can see that with this sort of thing you want to be organized and plan ahead. And it can get a little confusing sometimes, but here I have a nice hover state, but this is only going to be on the tab 1. When I go to the other ones, it's not there because I haven't gone in and added the hover state on those other states of my dynamic panel. But you get the idea. You can do all kinds of things with design once you have this all set up. So we're going to end it there, and thanks for watching. All right, bye.